August 2003, two founders build a website in just 10 days. Within 3 years, it's crowned America's most visited site, surpassing Google, reshaping how millions connect, and fueling a $12 billion social media gold rush. So how did the internet's brightest star collapse into a cautionary tale, discarded for $35 million and wiping out the digital lives of a generation? The answer unlocks what every tech platform dreads but rarely admits. Chris DeWolf and Tom Anderson didn't set out to build an empire, they just moved fast. In August 2003, huddled inside eUniverse's Los Angeles offices, they sketched out a plan to beat Friendster at its own game. The team barely slept. Over 10 days, they coded a working social network from scratch, using cold fusion for speed. What they built wasn't just a prototype, it was a fully functioning site, ready to open its doors to the world by August 31st. But this wasn't a typical internet launch. DeWolf and Anderson had a secret weapon, eUniverse's marketing list. 20 million email addresses gathered from years of online promotions gave MySpace an instant audience. The founders didn't wait for word of mouth. They blasted invitations to the entire list, offering something new, a place to connect, share, and show off online. Within days, thousands signed up. By the end of the first month, MySpace had over 1 million users. It wasn't just growth, it was a stampede. The early site had a raw, open feel. Anyone could join. Profiles were blank canvases, open to wild customization. Users experimented with backgrounds, music, and animated GIFs, transforming their pages into personal statements. The platform's code let people paste in HTML and CSS, creating a chaotic, vibrant patchwork that felt alive. This freedom became a magnet for creative teenagers, indie musicians, and digital explorers. DeWolf and Anderson watched as the numbers exploded. The viral effect was real. Each new user invited friends, who invited more, and the network swelled by tens of thousands every day. By spring 2004, MySpace had crossed the 5 million user mark. The founders raced to keep up, adding servers and tweaking code late into the night. The site's infrastructure groaned under the load, but the team's just ship it mentality kept the platform online, even as new features rolled out at breakneck speed. What set MySpace apart wasn't just its scale or its speed, it was the sense of ownership users felt. For the first time, ordinary people could shape their online presence, connect with strangers, and broadcast their taste in music to the world. The site's top 8 friends feature sparked both loyalty and drama, driving engagement higher. By the time other social networks noticed, MySpace was already a cultural force, growing faster than anyone thought possible, fueled by the energy of millions discovering a new kind of digital community. By 2006, MySpace was not just popular, it was everywhere. The platform had become a rite of passage for teenagers, musicians, comedians, and anyone chasing a moment in the digital spotlight. In bedrooms and dorm rooms across the world, users spent hours personalizing their profiles. No two pages looked alike. Neon colors, glittery backgrounds, and scrolling marquees clashed with embedded music players and blinking GIFs. For millions, this was their first taste of web design, learned by trial and error, copying code from friends or strangers. The top 8 friends box sat at the heart of every profile. 8 faces, each a declaration of loyalty or a source of drama. Getting bumped from a friend's top 8 could end a friendship, spark a message war, or launch a campaign to win back a coveted spot. This feature did not just organize connections, it gave them stakes, turning social life into a leaderboard. Music pulsed through the site's veins. Bands and solo artists, from garage rockers to soon-to-be stars, found a home on MySpace. The platform's music player let users share tracks directly on their profiles. Fans could discover new acts, message their idols, and sometimes even land a spot on a tour. For unsigned musicians, MySpace was a stage with a global audience. Arctic Monkeys, Lily Allen, and Soulja Boy all credited MySpace with launching their careers. The site quickly outgrew its roots. By January 2006, MySpace was signing up 200,000 new users every day. That month, it surpassed both Yahoo Mail and Google to become the most visited website in the United States. The numbers kept climbing. By August, the platform celebrated 100 million registered users. International versions launched in the United Kingdom, China, and beyond. transforming MySpace into the first truly global social network. For a brief moment, MySpace felt like the center of the internet. It was not just a website, it was a digital city, alive with music, gossip, and creativity. Users logged in daily to check messages, tweak layouts, post bulletins, and watch their social graphs shift in real time. The site's chaos was part of the charm. There were no algorithms shaping the experience, just raw expression and the thrill of being seen. At its peak, MySpace shaped not just online culture, but real-world trends. Fashion, slang, and music genres spread from profile to profile, crossing borders overnight. The platform became a launchpad for memes and viral videos before those words even entered the mainstream. For millions, MySpace was more than a website. It was the soundtrack and scrapbook of their lives, a place where anyone could belong and everyone could stand out.
In July 2005, News Corporation closed a $580 million deal to buy MySpace, outbidding Viacom and instantly transforming the platform from a scrappy startup into a global media property. Rupert Murdoch saw MySpace as the crown jewel of his digital ambitions, a gateway to a new generation, and a chance to dominate online advertising. Peter Chernin, News Corp's president, called it the company's biggest growth opportunity. The pressure to deliver was immediate. MySpace's explosive growth had set sky-high expectations, and Wall Street wanted results. The answer came in August 2006, when News Corporation executives signed a 3-year, $900 million advertising contract with Google. The deal was historic, at the time the largest online ad agreement ever inked. In exchange for exclusive rights to serve ads and search on MySpace, Google guaranteed nearly $1 billion in revenue, with strict minimums written into the contract. But those guarantees came with strings attached. If MySpace failed to hit the required number of ad impressions and clicks, the payout would shrink. The site's financial health was now tethered to a relentless ad machine. Inside MySpace, the mandate was clear: maximize ad inventory at all costs. Product teams found themselves sidelined. New features and redesigns were delayed or scrapped if they risked disrupting ad placements. Engineers were pulled from user-facing projects to focus on integrating Google's ad technology and increasing the number of ads per page. The site became a patchwork of banners, pop-ups, and sponsored links. Sometimes 4 or 5 ads crowded a single profile. Every click, every page view was counted and monetized. For users, the experience began to sour. Pages loaded slower. Music players and custom layouts struggled to compete with expanding ad blocks. Complaints mounted about clutter, lag, and intrusive promotions. But the financial targets left little room for compromise. News Corp's digital chief, Jonathan Miller, and later Owen Van Natta, were tasked with keeping revenue on track, even as user engagement started to slip. By 2009, the cracks were impossible to ignore. MySpace missed Google's minimum ad guarantees by as much as $100 million, exposing the limits of the revenue-first strategy. Rupert Murdoch later called the acquisition a huge mistake, admitting they screwed up in every way possible. The $900 million deal, once hailed as a masterstroke, became a cautionary tale. The exclusive contract locked MySpace into a cycle where ad sales trumped innovation, and every decision was filtered through the lens of quarterly earnings. The relentless pursuit of revenue, enforced by corporate leadership, left the platform handcuffed, unable to adapt as the social web evolved around it. MySpace's codebase was never built for the weight it had to carry. The site's heart ran on Cold Fusion, a tool that let the founders move fast, but left behind a brittle skeleton as millions piled in. Each new feature was dropped onto a tangled web of scripts, and deployments happened by hand. There were no guardrails, no safety nets. If a developer pushed out a broken update, the site could buckle for hours. Rolling back meant scrambling through servers and praying nothing else broke in the process. As the user count soared, so did the chaos. The freedom that let anyone paste in wild HTML and CSS turned every profile into a potential minefield. Some pages ballooned with oversized images, auto-playing videos, and music players that started blaring the moment they loaded. The result was often a cacophony of sound and color. Fun at first, but soon a nightmare for performance. Pages grew heavier. Load times stretched from seconds to minutes, especially for those with slower connections.
The pressure from News Corporation's ad deal with Google only made things worse. Every page had to deliver more ads, banners, pop-ups, sponsored links, sometimes 5 or 6 per profile. The clutter squeezed out the content users actually cared about. Engineers were told to prioritize ad inventory above all else. When users complained about slowdowns or broken layouts, fixes took a backseat to revenue targets. Even small tweaks to improve speed or usability were shelved if they risked cutting into ad impressions. Technical debt piled up. The infrastructure team kept adding servers to keep up with demand. But scaling was not just about hardware. The core software could not keep pace. Outages became routine. During peak hours, the site would grind to a halt. Users lost messages, bands saw their music players fail, and profile edits vanished without warning. With every crash, trust eroded. Industry observers noticed the cracks. Malik, founder of Giga Omni Media, pointed out that MySpace had stopped feeling like a technology company. The platform, he argued, was being run as a media property, more concerned with squeezing out ad dollars than building a reliable experience. Meanwhile, Facebook was quietly building a fortress. Its interface was clean, standardized, and fast. While MySpace pages sputtered under layers of clutter, Facebook loaded in a snap, no matter how many friends you had. For MySpace users, the difference was impossible to ignore. Annoyances stacked up, music that played without warning, pages that stuttered and froze, endless ads crowding every corner. The very freedom that once made the site feel alive now left it feeling slow, broken, and out of control. Behind the scenes, the platform's own foundation was crumbling under the weight of its success and the demands of its new corporate owners. On April 19, 2008, a single update on the Alexa rankings sent shockwaves through the tech world. Facebook had overtaken MySpace as the most visited social network in the United States. The numbers told a story no executive could spin. MySpace, once valued at $12 billion and boasting over 115 million monthly users, was slipping from its throne. What followed was not a slow fade, but a rapid unraveling. By early 2011, MySpace's United States traffic had collapsed by 44% in just 1 year, dropping to 37.7 million visitors. The user exodus bled into the bottom line, and the platform's ad-driven, cluttered interface could no longer hide the scale of the loss. Inside News Corporation, panic turned to resignation. The platform that Rupert Murdoch once called his company's biggest growth engine had become a financial sinkhole. Leadership churn set in. Krista Wolf, the co-founder and longtime CEO, stepped down in April 2009, his exit a clear signal that the founder's vision had been pushed aside. Executives came and went, each promising a turnaround that never arrived. The final act played out in June 2011. After months of rumors, News Corp sold MySpace for just $35 million. The buyer, a little-known ad network called Specific Media, partnered with Justin Timberlake in a last-ditch bid to revive the brand. The sale price was less than 1% of MySpace's peak valuation, a $12 billion empire reduced to a corporate afterthought. Years of mismanagement, missed opportunities, and an obsession with ad revenue ended in a fire sale that stunned the industry. The digital city that once shaped a generation was now little more than a cautionary tale, its fate sealed by the very forces that once fueled its rise. In 2019, MySpace confirmed that every song, photo, and video uploaded to the platform before 2016 was gone. The company blamed a failed server migration, but the explanation rang hollow for those who understood the scale of what vanished. Over 50 million songs from 14 million artists, an entire generation's creative output, were erased in a single sweep. For bands who used MySpace as their first stage, and for fans who built their identities around playlists and profile tracks, years of memories and milestones simply disappeared. Digital preservation experts such as Andy Baio voiced strong doubts about the official story. Baio, a longtime archivist and former chief technology officer at Kickstarter, called the incident suspicious. He argued that losing 12 years of user content with no backup defied belief. He said that flagrant incompetence may be bad public relations, but that still sounds better than saying we can't be bothered with the effort and cost of migrating and hosting 50 million old MP3s. The cost of maintaining that data, thousands of terabytes mostly inactive, had become a burden to a site long past its prime. What was lost went far beyond numbers. MySpace's music archive once held the first recordings of artists who later filled stadiums, and countless tracks from musicians who never found fame but found community. Those vanished files were more than digital clutter. They were evidence of a vibrant, messy, and deeply personal era of internet culture. The deletion was not just a technical failure, it was the final act of abandonment, a silent corporate decision that erased the soundtrack of a generation. For millions, the world's first social network ended not with a crash, but with a quiet, irreversible wipeout. Today, social platforms hold the memories, art, and identities of billions. MySpace's erasure of 50 million songs is more than a corporate failure. It is a warning. As digital giants expand, our collective history sits on fragile servers and shifting priorities. The question now: who truly owns our digital lives, and what do we lose when profit outweighs preservation?